Shimoda.
What do you mean, all dead?
Epidemic. A great evil force has come.
The 20 ninja led by Hanzo tried to infiltrate Shimoda Village a while ago, but they were completely annihilated, sir.
Is this true? All of them? Who killed them?
Someone very strong and skillful. That is all I can say.
What now? You regret not running away?
No. It seems to me that your body can't be as hard as rock all over, now can it? This way. Jump!
It was marvelous. He was no match for you. Why don't you join me then? Your skills would be of great help to me in fighting all of the others the likes of him.
I am grateful to you. I'm Kageto of the Koga Ninja Team.
My name's Jubei. Jubei Kibagami. So tell me, who are these 8 devils that come on?
They are a group of ninja who work for the so-called Shogun of the Dark. He plans to rebuild the house of Toyotomi, the ex-rulers of Japan. Why don't you work for me for 100 pieces of gold?
A Tokugawa government spy wants to hire me?
Wait a minute, ninja woman of Koga. Why don't you join us? The 3 of us have a common enemy. Do you know how the Shogun of the Dark found the gold mine before the government? Because of someone who gave him that information. Somebody who was the leader of the Yamashiro Ninja Team.
Himuro Gemma. If you so want the company of devils, you better hurry back to hell, Gemma.
In June of 1993, Ninja Scroll was released in Japan and made its debut in the West in early 1995. The anime didn't take off as well as expected in the East and made its strongest impression in the USA and Europe once it hit VHS and Laserdisc. It may have received limited theatrical exhibition, but its main market was focused on home video. Its strong violence and sexual content meant the movie was certainly not for children and was classified an 18 in the UK and an R rating for the States. The BBFC made a few cuts to the UK version, mainly during the sexual assault, but it's now available in its uncut form with the recent Blu-ray release. Ninja Scroll became extremely popular outside of Japan and sold just as well as Akira and Ghost in the Shell on home video. The director Yoshiaki Kawagiri started out wanting to be a manga artist, but at the time wasn't confident with his abilities, so he decided working as an animator to learn how to draw and liked the ideas of learning the timing and movement of animation. Once he finished school, he struggled to find work, but luckily a contact managed to get him in the door of a studio. He didn't really want to direct and liked drawing, but he worked at a quick pace and was starting to get more work and responsibilities. He found himself co-directing the 1984 anime Lensman, which he now admits he's not very proud of, but felt he wouldn't attempt to return to it or remake it, citing he wouldn't have the patience. Surprisingly, Yoshiaki didn't really watch much animation in his spare time, but instead enjoyed films like Blade Runner, Die Hard, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. One of his most popular films during the 80s was the city gothic horror Wicked City, which features visual elements Jubei prior to the film's events. However, he has acquired immortality by mastering control of his body, allowing him to reconnect severed body parts and even shapeshift. His powers and abilities of reincarnation are never properly explained. Benisato is a seductive woman who has snake tattoos all over her body that come to life, and can summon a larger quantity of snakes to trap her victims, as well as being able to shed her skin. Tasai is the first of the devils that makes an appearance, and has the ability to turn his skin as hard as rock, and fights with a double-bladed sword, which is capable of covering great distances. Mushitsu is one of the creepiest villains, a hunchback dwarf who harbours a hornet's nest in his back. He is able to control the insects and make them do his bidding. Mujiro is a blind swordsman who challenges Jubei to a fight to the death. He has an uncanny hearing ability to engage his enemies, as well as being able to blind them by reflecting the light from his sword. He is apparently the only one of the Kamon to have no supernatural powers. Shijima has the ability to melt into the shadows and can create clones of himself to confuse his enemy. His weapon is a large metallic claw that fires from his hand, and he can even possess people's minds. Yorimaru seems to be second in command and has the ability to generate electricity from his body, combining this with a steel wire that wraps around his target's neck to conduct the current. He even uses the wire to communicate with Gamma, which I thought was a very cool idea to introduce. Zakuro is in love with Yorimaru, but he is in love with Gamma. Gamma is apparently bisexual, as he apparently sleeps with both Yorimaru and Benisato. As a result, she is very bitter towards Yorimaru for rejecting her. Zakuro has the ability to manipulate gunpowder and plants it inside living or dead organisms. For the film's story, the movie opens in feudal Japan, where Jubei is returning from a mission. He is ambushed by a bunch of thieves, and they mock him for taking a job at such a low wage. But Jubei expresses fortune is not a concern of his, he is only out to help people. They attack him to steal his reward, but he defeats them with lightning speed. A storm is coming and he senses unrest, heading off as night falls. A nearby village has been infected by a plague, and the population has been nearly wiped out. The remaining survivors are being moved on. The neighbouring town is warned of the epidemic by a dazed woman, but they fail to realise she's under the control of one of the 8 devils of Kamon. The next night, a team of Koga ninjas are sent to investigate, but are taken out and slaughtered by Tasai, who can transform his skin into rock, making him nearly invincible. The only survivor is Kagero, who is sexually assaulted by him, but before he can rape her, she is rescued by Jubei, who blinds Tasai. Kagero thanks Jubei and continues with her mission, but Tasai wants revenge and surprises Jubei. The two battle it out, but Jubei manages to beat him, much to his surprise. Jubei is being closely observed by a government spy by the name of Dakuan. He is impressed by Jubei's skills, and he reveals Tasai belongs to the Devils of the Kamon group, and warns him they will be after Jubei for defeating their comrade. Dakuan wants Jubei to join him in his mission to find the leader of the supernatural group, but Jubei is not interested in working for the government, and refuses. Later, Jubei is confronted by another member of the Kamon whilst having a bath. She attacks him with hundreds of snakes and he slices them in half. Just as he approaches her, she sheds her skin and makes her escape. Dakuan appears yet again and poisons him with a shuriken. He says he'll give him the antidote and 100 pieces of gold if he joins him on his mission. Jubei has no option but to accept. Dakuan reveals the details of his mission. 5 years earlier, the Yamashiro chief's retainers stole huge amounts of gold behind their lord's back. The lord of the clan wanted to have the gold for himself, but his forces weren't strong enough to reclaim it. He couldn't go to the government for help because they would want it for themselves, so he enlisted the help of his ninja team, led by Gamma, to kill the retainers. Jubei is also revealed to be a member of the clan, and Gamma wants him killed to keep the location of the gold secret. However, Jubei manages to defeat Gamma by cutting his head off, or so he thinks. Jubei and Kagero join forces and together fight their common enemy, the 8 Devils of Kamon, who in turn work for the Shogun of the Dark, who want to overthrow the current government. The score to Ninja Scroll was composed by Kaoru Wada, with 2 additional songs composed and sung by Ryuhei Yamanashi. The score is really what gives the film its character and atmosphere. Once you hear the themes and cues that have been composed, it transports you into that world, and it transcends its animated status. The soundtrack really sells the visuals, and listening to it by itself is an absolute joy. The songs at the end do sound like something a Japanese businessman might sing at a karaoke bar. but honestly they work and for some reason are so catchy despite having no clue what the song is about as they are sung in Japanese. The soundtrack was released on CD, but finding an original CD pressing will probably set you back a lot of money, but some people have uploaded some tracks to YouTube for you to enjoy. In 2003, a TV series was produced of 13 episodes for a one-off series. Apparently set 14 years after the events of the movie, Jubei looks a lot younger in the show than he did in the film, and at first I thought it was a prequel, but that's not the case. It remains only a spiritual sequel to the film because the story stands alone. However, many references suggest that it is indeed a continuation from the movie. In the series, Jubei gets caught in the middle of a battle between the Kamon clan and the Hiroko clan. He meets up with a young lady whose village was destroyed by the evil clan, and whom Jubei was charged with delivering a dragon stone to. I watched about 6 episodes and thought it was nothing special. The animation was very choppy in places. As it is a TV show, it's obviously not going to have the high level of detail of an animated movie. The English dub left a lot to be desired. Dakawan sounds totally different and the new voice doesn't suit the character. I think if I was a kid I would have got a kick out of watching this, but as an adult it's hard for me to be invested in it at all. In 2006, Jubei received further adventures in comic book form, with 12 issues published. It isn't restricted to the timeline of the movie, so it has returning characters, so it does its own thing with the original story. Many anime fans had been desperate for a sequel for years, but many delays and funding issues really restricted any motion towards getting one made. In 2012, a sequel was announced with the title Ninja Scroll Burst, and a teaser trailer was put online to help encourage investment, but since it was published, nothing has been officially released. The idea seemed to be a series of short films that I'm guessing would make up one whole story. Recent news suggests they have struggled to secure funding in Japan to continue with a follow-up. I think the idea of a sequel has unfortunately been put on hold. I didn't see Ninja Scroll to its release on DVD, but I was fully aware of the anime when it was released in the early 90s. It was featured in the manga intro trailer, which showed you all the films you could buy at the time, such as AD Police, Akira and Fist of the North Star. What instantly impresses you with Ninja Scroll is the beautiful and intensely animated action sequences. They are so fast and way over the top in a way that I don't think a live action film could have achieved. Maybe now with the heavy use of CGI, you could make an attempt to recreate the shots, but it would be insanely difficult. That's the beauty of animation, you can do anything you want. The introduction of new scenes really has that cinematic feel, with the foreground and background moving slowly and independently to set the mood and scene. It's a common technique but works so well throughout the anime. The film straight away sets the tone for the audience and makes it clear it's a fantasy movie. For example, many of the characters have special abilities that don't attempt to be realistic. In Jubei's first battle, one villain shoots at him with a gun, but when Jubei retaliates, he jumps out of his suit to reveal he's a tiny man in some sort of a wooden operated body armour. Totally original and mad at the same time. Jubei's sword seems to fire out a laser-like blast at his victims, which doesn't really make any sense, but it doesn't matter in the slightest because it looks awesome and is very effective within the fight scenes. I love how he has a wire attached to his sword, so if he drops it, he can pull it back quickly to defend himself. It's a bit like a Jedi when they use the Force to grab their lightsaber. The character of Jubei is definitely the highlight of the film. He has a cool persona and seems totally relaxed all the time with a great sense of humour, and he's not out for any real personal gain. He is a hero through and through, and only there to help others. The main villains are really well designed and all have great characteristics. The blind swordsman and the rockman are definitely the most interesting, partly because they are included in the most impressive action scenes. The English dub is pretty good, to be honest. Many of the voice actors do a great job in giving the characters some personality. Gamma is certainly the weakest in my opinion. The voice just seems like a generic tough guy and comes across as a bit of a meathead. It doesn't help that his body is so amped up with muscles. Everything is so disproportionate. His shoulders are a mile wide, and he has probably the biggest chin and neck I have ever seen in an animated character. I know hardcore anime fans would certainly only watch it in its original Japanese audio mix, but because Ninja Scroll was so big outside of Japan, the English track is the version I believe most people are familiar with, hence why I'm really focusing on this audio mix. If you have a home cinema, the recent Blu-ray DTS mix does make great use of the bass and surround sound. Many anime movies that were recorded in stereo that have been put onto Blu-ray tend to have this fake 5.1 audio surround sound, often sounding a bit strange, but thankfully Ninja Scroll works well with a home cinema setup. I've never really had any problems with Ninja Scroll. except it gets a little baggy near the end when they get to the harbour to ambush the Ninja Clan. It would have been nice to know more about the world and backstory. As an audience member, you're thrown straight into the movie, and it feels like this is a sequel to a series. You're only given the backstory through conversations and the odd flashback, which do work, but some may be lost or confused by its plot, especially the motives of the ninjas who wish to overthrow the government. Things tend to make more sense on repeated viewing. The movie has a sad love story between Jubei and Kagero. He obviously doesn't seem interested in her at first, but comes to care for her and shows affection for her as they go on their journey. As does she. She projects the attitude of someone who doesn't want any affection, and an individual who can handle everything by herself, but she is very torn up inside. The inability to love someone and be with them has left her very bitter. As events unfold, she realises she can be with Jubei because she is the antidote to save him, but events conspire against them. If you are a newcomer to anime, Ninja Scroll is easily the top of the pile when it comes to recommended titles. There is so much to enjoy. It will please just about everyone. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted, as the gore is pushed into overdrive, and seeing sexual scenes in animation form may not be to everyone's liking. It did make me laugh the first time, as it just cuts to a couple bonking, and the Chamberlain just goes on giving orders as he has sex. It's typical of what you might expect from an adult anime feature, so knowing what to expect is always handy. Ninja Scroll is very rewatchable. It has a great story and soundtrack. Its efforts on behalf of the animators and director are what really make the movie special. It ticks all the right boxes to make a truly satisfying ninja adventure.